Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, uh, chairman, directors of the board, and all the people who are connecting to this event online. I'm going to try and pick up the thread where Suleiman has left. And just to begin with, I just want to talk a little bit about what this means to developing and developed countries in terms of how they take the trajectory in addressing the challenges that were very well highlighted in Suleiman's presentation. In 2021, there is a very important climate change conference that will be happening at the United Nations, which is also known as COP26. And in that event, all the countries are going to sort of renew their commitment towards net zero. But in Pakistan over here and otherwise also, we have to be a little mindful of what this commitment means for developing countries like us and for developed nations. We don't have the fiscal space, the GDP per capita, to invest in the kind of innovation, to invest in science that is required to make this transition possible. More importantly, if we look at our literacy level, our awareness level, we also need to be aware of the fact that are the eventual customers, particularly in our country, are they aware of the issues that are going to come upon us in the next few decades, and are they willing to pay for it? And the answer is no. If you look at Pakistan's own reality, now we are running power plants on where the fuel is coal, and we're very proud of it. And make no mistake of that. Let's look at the next 10 years in terms of our energy requirements. Now, it's common knowledge. Now, there are different forecasts, but one thing is very clear, that when it comes to our gas reserves, our natural gas reserves are depleting. And being a gas-based economy, it's likely to be replaced with LNG. By 2030, we'll be importing roughly $10 to $12 billion of LNG. Now, a country like us, which keeps running to the IMF each time we have balance of payment crisis, and unfortunately, over the last decades, our exports have not grown at the same level that we would have desired. In fact, they've hardly grown, apart from the last year, which has been a good effort. We have to ask ourselves this question, that are we going to completely let go of a natural resource which is available? And the reality is that we cannot completely let go of it. So the rules that apply, so the point I'm trying to make is that rules that apply to some of the developed countries cannot be replicated on developing countries. It has to be a very sort of involved discussion between the developing countries and developed countries on how this transition is going to happen globally, because one size doesn't fit all. That's just the reality of life. The second question is, why is this relevant to Engro? So if we look at the crux of our way forward and our strategy, it's about global competitiveness. We want to make sure that we are operating businesses which are regionally and globally competitive, and we invest in projects that are regionally and globally competitive. So let's take eFirst's example, right? Our flagship company. And I'm just going to quote a few numbers, so just bear with me on this. But right now we are selling urea at about 1,800 rupees a bag. If we were to take aside all the subsidies that we get in terms of gas, and calculate the cost with weighted average cost of gas today, it'll come around 2,500 to 2,600. If we were to import a urea of bag, that will be close to 4,000. I may have my numbers wrong by a bit, but not by a lot. But what that shows you is that in Pakistan, we are running a globally competitive business. Angro-polymer is on the same path, where, challenge to JP is always, okay, when are you going to get to a level whereby the business will be comfortably sustainable without any kind of protection? Again, that is indicating towards being globally competitive. The project that we're developing, the polypropylene project, and thanks to Rizwan Saab, who's on our board, who was the first one to push us from evaluating a 550,000 ton project to a 750,000 ton project, because the whole idea behind that was to run a global scale plant and where we can compete with the likes of any other. So if the desire for us is to be able to operate in a competitive fashion locally, and inshallah one day to be a significant international player, we have to embrace the realities of the global environment. And hence, we can't shy away from our responsibility as a global citizen, because otherwise we have no right to set an ambition of being a globally competitive player. Hence, it's not a choice anymore. It is going to be a difficult transition. That's what I was trying to say initially, that we are a developed country. Pakistan has its own economic realities. We are very, very proud to be doing every business that we are doing. But at the same time, we have to be mindful of our role and responsibility. And they can be significant, they can be areas where we can actually create value. So, the point I made earlier about how the transition should be different in developing markets, I think one of the ways we need to explore, or one of the ways we should look to explore, is of market access. So if we were to produce polypropylene and be carbon neutral, or have, sort of achieve our recycling objectives and goals as well, we must go and explore, and that was part of Suleiman's and Hussein's trip as well, that will that lead to market access for us? Because there are companies out there in the world who may want to work with a responsible polypropylene producer as Engro wants to be. There is a lot of work which is going on CO2 sequestration, and I think that that's something that may become important for our fertilizer business. There's obviously a lot of work that needs to be done before that technology becomes more commercially viable. Hydrogen is another one. So our Engro polymer produces a lot of hydrogen. Demand for hydrogen as a clean fuel is only on its way up. And inshallah, when we do put up the PDH plant, we will become a significant producer of hydrogen. So there is tremendous opportunity of value creation within our businesses as well. So in terms of our own future plans in this area, this has been, as far as the environment portion of ESG is concerned, I'd like to call this year as a year of learning. And significant effort has been made by Suleiman and his team to do a baselining, and hopefully by the end of this year or beginning of next year, we'll get to a point where we will be able to make our own set of commitments. We're going to be deliberate about it. We're not going to rush into anything. While there's obviously a sense of urgency, and I don't want to downplay that sense of urgency, but we're also not going to rush into any decision. So it's something which is being discussed even at the board, and inshallah, I would say by early next year, we should be able to give our way forward on how we're going to treat environmental issues. I also want to appreciate some of the efforts that have already been made. The million tree plantation in Thar, urban forest in EVTL. There's a lot of work done on circular plastic at EPCL. So good work is being done, but obviously we need to do more. On the social front, Alhamdulillah, very proud to be part of the billion rupee COVID pledge, HD COVID pledge, and I think that has gone very well. There's several efforts that are being made on D&I by Rizwan and his team, and again, not to mention all the CSR projects that were done at Thar, at EFERT in particular. I was happy to go to Dherki recently, the snake bite clinic, and now the dog bite clinic, and it's very heartwarming. It's incredible that how many people, how many kids we've been able to treat. So there is so much good on the social side that has been done over the last few decades in this great company, and we just intend to do more of it. And I'm leaving out a lot of programs, so every company, every project is important, so don't hold that against me. In terms of governance, I think Alhamdulillah, Engro has set a great example of governance over the last over 5 decades, and we've been able to manage the conglomerate with multiple listed entities and joint venture partners and so on and so forth. And we look to improve on it further. But particularly with respect to our commitment to ESG, we are the first and perhaps the only company right now which has signed off on a WEF manifesto. I sent out an announcement on that as well, where inshallah we will become part of the stakeholder capitalism metrics, whereby not only we will come up with the right metrics, we will look to achieve those KPIs, but we are also going to make it public so that we can hold ourselves accountable in this very, very important area. So ladies and gentlemen, we have a very exciting lineup of speakers. I hope that you find the content that has been put together as useful, and please do give us the feedback on what you thought of this event later on. I want to thank Mubashir and the KSBL team for allowing us the facility, and look forward to hearing from Mubashir as well. Well done, Suleiman, to you and the team for putting this together. I hope all the people out there who are viewing this online find the contents useful. Thank you so much for your participation and presence. Thank you.